Coming up next on the 10:30 edition of the Action News, the vote that will virtually seal the fate of the 50-cent fare grows very close. We'll tell you about the move to try to turn Gun City back to Fun City. Saturday Night Live will be getting a new look, and we'll watch as a lady wrist wrestler champion takes on Action News.
This is the 10:30 Action News with Bill Jorgensen, Jerry Gerard, Jeffrey Lyons, and the award-winning Action News team.
It is now just about certain New York City's 50-cent transit fare will go up. Late today, the state lawmakers agreed on a plan to help close the MTA's estimated $289 million budget gap. But even with a bailout, the MTA chief, Richard Ravitch, has said that fares will have to rise by at least a dime. The subsidy plan was put together despite efforts by Senate Majority Leader Warren Anderson to scuttle it, but the legislature still has to vote. The foundation of the plan is a 2% gross receipts tax on oil companies, which will raise most of the cash the MTA needs. But that tax could still be challenged in the courts and canceled automatically if the oil companies are allowed to pass cost along to consumers. Calling it the toughest gun control law in the nation, Governor Hugh Carey put his signature on new legislation designed to take aim at the city's estimated $2 million illegal handguns.
Let there be no error about it that this bill will be vigorously enforced, and our aim is to produce a result that will protect human life and property from those who've been carrying illegal handguns in the state.
Under the new law, anyone convicted of carrying a loaded, unlicensed gun would be sentenced to a year in jail. But there are exceptions, 2 of them. A judge could waive the sentence for first offenders, and people who kept an unlicensed gun at work or at home face only misdemeanor charges. Police officers we talked to said the law was a step in the right direction, but not enough.
I think it would be a deterrent to crime, and I think that's about it. It'd just be a deterrent.
It can help a little bit, but I think there should be more. A longer sentence, and there shouldn't be that much discretion on the part of the judges. Why? Because they'll plea bargain it down and release them anyway.
Governor Carey has promised that anyone who turns in their illegal gun now will not be prosecuted. Tim?
Violence rocked a Brooklyn school today. 2 youths were injured and 500 students sent home early. Police say a lunchroom argument at Brooklyn Tech in the Fort Greene section escalated into a brawl involving several students. 1 youth suffered a broken nose, another had a head injury. Violence also touched the city's subways early today. 7 gang members ranging in age from 14 to 17 were arrested after a rampage on the West Side IRT line. Transit police say the gang, armed with a knife and a wrench, robbed at least 1 passenger as they roamed from car to car. They were arrested near the Rector Street station. Bill.
25 years in jail, a $207,000 fine. That was the sentence handed down to Michele Sindona, the Italian financier convicted of a multi-million-dollar fraud that led to the biggest bank failure in our country's history. The federal authorities say it is the stiffest sentence ever imposed on a white-collar crime defendant in this federal district.
It shows that the rich and powerful are going to be prosecuted just like anybody else who commits a criminal act in this country.
Sindona will be in jail for at least 8 years and 3 months before he's eligible for parole. Still ahead in our Action News tonight, the PATH strike continues. We'll tell you about new ways to help commuters cope and shades of 1969. The fans are flocking back to Shea. Today was the 2nd day of the PATH train strike. Tim Malloy tells us how officials are trying to make it easier for some 80,000 New Jersey commuters. Tim?
Bill, yesterday was a nightmare. Thousands of commuters were forced to wait up to 2 hours just to get out of the city to a drop-off point. Today, it was a much different story. Though only 80,000 commuters have lost their regular form of transportation, the strike in fact touches a couple of million New Yorkers every day. And while some rise to the occasion and take the inconvenience in stride, others react bitterly to the problems brought on by the strikers.
Whoever went on strike, hang them all.
There was every indication the evening rush would be the worst of the strike. A Friday, a beautiful weekend ahead. But patience and organization seemed to prevail. There were obviously lessons learned in yesterday's fiasco. The remedy? Buses. double the number used yesterday. Extra police in Manhattan and in drop-off points in Jersey City and Hoboken eased the strain as well.
Step forward, folks. There's a bus right over here.
The buses made the difference, the extra buses, did they not?
They did, definitely. Everything seems to be moving without any problems. The people are most cooperative. We'll do what we can to get them home.
What about Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week?
It's a continuation of today.
You think you can handle this for a couple of weeks?
No, I don't. No, I don't. I'd like them to go back Monday.
Don't count on it. No talks are scheduled between union and management. No break is in sight. The last time Local 1330 went out, they were out of the job for 63 days. Bill.
A $50,000 reward is being offered now by the National Urban League for any information leading to the sniper who gunned down League President Vernon Jordan. The Urban League Vice President, John Jacobs, says that he hopes the reward money will speed the effort to find the man or woman who shot Jordan in the back in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Mr. Jordan was shot on May 29th. We would, at 2:05 in the morning, we would have hoped that the case would have been solved at 2:15 on May 29th. It was not, so we are frustrated.
Jordan is recuperating at New York's hospital, where he's listed in serious but stable condition tonight. Coming up, the not ready for primetime players are leaving Saturday Night Live. It's Beauty and Brawn versus Action News. And Jeffrey Lyons will review a new Jodie Foster film called Carney. Tonight's report on business, prepared in cooperation with the Wall Street Journal. Ford's problem with a potential recall of 16 million cars for transmission problems is absolutely enormous. But Ford is certainly not alone. Volkswagen of America is now calling in 155,000 of its diesel-powered cars turned out between 1977 and 1979. Now, these are cars that accelerate by themselves, and VW intends to correct that problem free of charge. Yesterday, we learned that the White House has sent a new gasoline rationing plan to Congress. The Energy Department admits it would take a year to put into effect, cost $600 million. Drivers would get gasoline rationing checks, and they would be exchangeable for coupons at banks and post offices. But the big question to a lot of people, how much gasoline would the average driver get if he was not in some high-priority occupation or situation? And the answer came out today, about 42 gallons a month. On Wall Street today, more heavy trading, and the spring rally seems to be very much alive as interest rates plunge and money is moving back towards stocks. The Dow Industrials gained 3 3/4 points on the last trading day of the week, and the average big board share was up 11 cents in value. Tim?
Mayor Koch spoke before the Democratic National Committee in Washington today. He warned the party that our cities are balanced on the edge of economic chaos, and he called on the Democratic lawmakers to take swift action to aid the economy.
Well, we are now going through a recession, and it is getting worse. And there isn't any counter-cyclical legislation on the books. And so there has to be a change. We've got to deal, we who are Democrats and who want a Democratic president and a Democratic Congress elected and re-elected, we better have high anxiety.
The mayor also says he doesn't believe New York will receive all of the $100 million of federal aid it needs to balance the 1981 budget. Bill.
The name is the same, but the faces will change. NBC says that Saturday Night Live will continue in its usual time slot next fall, but with an all-new cast. Gilda Radner, Bill Murray, Garrett Morris, Jane Curtin, and Lorraine Newman will no longer be live from New York. There's a new movie out about life with a traveling carnival. It's called Carney and stars Roby Robertson of the band, Judy Foster, and Gary Busey. Jeffrey Lyons tells us that he saw it. Jeff?
Well, I saw it, Bill, but I didn't like it. Carney is a movie about failed lives, but the film becomes so self-indulgent quickly, it too fails. It is a slow-moving bore. Robbie Robertson, one-time leader of the band, Bob Dylan's backup group, produced and starred in this tiresome movie set in a small traveling carnival in the South. Customers are frequently fleeced along the midway by Robertson. Gary Busey, who played Buddy Holly a few years ago and got an Oscar nomination for it, is an insult clown who picks up runaway waitress Jodie Foster. This movie is all talk, talk, talk. Now, it's too bad that Carney was handled so badly, that its motives become obscured in the morass of a dull, thudding screenplay. Carney, simply a thudding bore. And for Robbie Robertson, who sounds like Dustin Hoffman in the movie, but acts half asleep, better luck next time. I'm Jeffrey Lyons.
That old Met magic is back in the air. The amazing Mets are once again making believers out of New Yorkers. Tonight, the Mets opened a weekend series with the Giants, and thousands poured out of nowhere to see the most surprising team in baseball. The team officials estimate a crowd of about 25,000 for tonight's game, and this scene will be repeated if the Mets continue to win. And now, the full report on sports. Here's Jeffrey Lyons.
Bill, I've been taking jokes about my jacket, but I'm doing sports tonight, so this is a sportscaster's jacket. At Shea tonight, the Mets magic was put on hold because in the ninth inning, the Giants won the game 3-1. That is the final. New York got their run in the third inning. With the bases loaded and the count full, Steve, number 5, Henderson, walked for a 1-0 New York lead. Milt May answered back for the Giants in the fourth, a home run to right, tying the score at 1. San Francisco got another run in the sixth when high-priced free agent Rennie Stennett tripled home Darrell Evans. In the eighth, Evans homered, and the Giants won the game 3-1, and it's wait till tomorrow. The Yankees, meanwhile, begin a 4-game set with Billy Martin's Oakland A's tonight on the West Coast. In the first part of the twilight doubleheader, the Yankees and the A's are tied 1-1 in the fifth. Ron Guidry going for win number 7. In other American League results tonight, Texas beat Toronto 6-3. Cleveland leads Minnesota 6-2 in the ninth. Detroit leads Chicago 8-2 in the sixth. Kansas City leads Milwaukee 2-1 in the seventh. The Brewers have been hot. Boston, with Dennis Eckersley on the mound against California, later start the same Baltimore at Seattle. Back in the National League, Atlanta beat the Chicago Cubs 7-6 in Chicago. Montreal won its 10th straight, beating Los Angeles 4-3. Pittsburgh leads Houston 5-3 in the ninth, and Philadelphia 9, Jerry Coleman's San Diego Padres 5 in the sixth. And Whitey Herzog did not matter tonight because St. Louis lost to Cincinnati. Actually, they're behind 5-1 in the sixth. Meanwhile, in golf, for the second straight day, Jack Nicklaus shattered records at the U.S. Open golf tournament at Boltus in Springfield, New Jersey. Nicklaus, a 3-time U.S. Open champ, shot a 1/71 today for a 6/under 134 at the halfway mark. Nicklaus and Tom Weiskopf shot a record 63 yesterday, and Jack's 134 also sets a new U.S. Open total for 2 rounds. Isao Aoki of Japan, Mike Reed, Keith Fergus, and Lonnie Hinkle ended the day 2 shots behind the Golden Bear, as Nicklaus is called. But the big story at the Open was a disqualification of Seve Ballesteros. The reigning Masters and British champ was several minutes late for the tee-off, and he was told to go home. Wait till next year. At the races tonight at Yonkers, the daily double, letters B and H, paid $96.20. The third race triple, A, H, and G, brought home $8.76 and change. And at Belmont, meanwhile, the double of C and G paid $20.20. The triple of E, H, and K paid $144.40. And the feature, won by London Bells, rang home a winner, paying $8.20. That's sports. Jerry returns on Monday. I'm Jeffrey Lyons. Tim?
It was Friday the 13th on the calendar, but a lucky day for the weather. Right now in Central Park, it's 62 degrees. The skies are clear. The barometer reads 30.17 inches, and it's rising, with 58% humidity. Winds are from the southeast at 7 miles per hour. Looking at our extended AccuWeather forecast tonight, clear skies and comfortable temperatures prevail, with a low around 60. Tomorrow, mostly sunny and getting warmer, high around 84 degrees. Sunday, it'll be hot and humid with some sun and afternoon thunder showers. The high will be 86. Bill.
The Action News staff is used to wrestling with new situations, but this afternoon some staff members came to grips with a truly unusual challenge. Christy Whitker has a report.
She's 5 feet 4 inches tall, weighs 120 pounds, and is an art major at Brooklyn College. But 21-year-old Shari Melnick uses her hands for more than painting. She's just become the Empire State Wrist Wrestling Champion, and today she brought her talents to our newsroom. What exactly is wrist wrestling as opposed to arm wrestling?
It determines the strength of your wrist, whereas arm wrestling, the strength is all on the upper arm. This is wrist wrestling, where opponents lock thumbs, and arm wrestling is where opponents grasp hands.
Now what am I supposed to try to do here?
Now you're supposed to go that way.
Oh, that's simple,
it's just,
okay. You're supposed to go that way?
Right.
When do we go?
Anytime you want.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. That's embarrassing. Having done rather dismally myself, I quickly offered Shari a powerful young news writer. I'm not giving up. Am I done yet? And then came a succession of other staff members.
Good fun.
Oh, she's tough. She's tough.
Okay, go. Fortunately, our news here is put together with head power, not wrist power. Now it looks as though Sherry Melnick is off to her next contest, leaving quite a few bruised egos behind. But then, when this poor little girl was utterly exhausted, in strode our 6-foot-tall executive producer. Sherry will defend her title in the New York wrist wrestling competition a week from Sunday in Flushing Meadow. And there, her competitors will all be girls.
And that's our report for tonight. I'm Bill Jorgensen, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time.
Many of the bills considered in the closing days of the New York State Legislature are of minor importance, but one piece of legislation before the Albany lawmakers this year goes right to the heart of the question of state or federal control. The measure would change the state banking law to allow state-chartered savings banks to provide a variety of services normally found only in commercial banks. In brief, the change would allow savings banks to offer checking accounts, make personal, business, and commercial loans, issue credit cards, increase the number of branches, and in general compete more evenly with commercial banks. The savings bank operators say that these additional powers are imperative to offset the decline in savings in recent years. The commercial banks, for obvious competitive reasons, are somewhat less enthusiastic about the proposal. Behind all of this is the larger issue of whether the state or the federal government will regulate the banks. For more than 2 years, the 113 state-chartered savings banks have had the option of converting to federal charters, which would automatically give them the increased powers they seek in the state legislature. Failure to enact the changes will almost certainly send all of the state-chartered savings banks to Washington, and New Yorkers will have lost direct control over one of their most important institutions. As we consider the matter, the management of WPIX concludes that it is not a question of if the saving banks are going to get the right to offer the additional services, but how they are going to get them. It seems clear to us that the most desirable way is to change the state law to conform with the federal statute. Only with that done can New Yorkers continue to have local control over the savings banks. The transfer of charters from the state to the federal government would have many adverse effects, not the least of which is the potential loss of tens of thousands of jobs, which, according to Governor Carey, might otherwise be shifted to other states. New York is fortunate that the state-chartered banks did not jump at the federal charters to get the additional powers they seek. What's your opinion? We'd like to know.